it over there and so forth. And remember, you're being televised. You'll be on Channel 5 News tonight.
All right. So I work for the organization that I work for is called NDRI. It's National Disease Research Interchange. And we procure organs and tissues from individuals who aren't suitable for transplant due to various diseases, disorders, conditions. The majority of the tissues we get are from, well, I say they're not from transplant, but the tissue teams across the country are tissue procurement centers, tissue banks, eye banks, will go out and they'll procure organs and tissues from individuals who express their wish to donate. However, they're not taking everything, so they'll go in, they'll remove the solid organs, and there's a lot of valuable tissue that's left over for research. So we have researchers that are, well, they research just about everything. We have rare diseases, we have researchers that work with HIV, AIDS, cancer. So a majority of the transplant community, I can't donate organs and tissues because of the transplant that I have. So if I pass away, I can't give anything back. They can take my corneas. I believe that's all they'll take. I worked for a while for the Gift of Life. After I left the hospital, I decided I want to get into this field. So I went and I annoyed the people at Gift of Life until they hired me. I was a school teacher and I couldn't go back to teaching school after the transplant. Well, I had an LVAD for 2 years. I couldn't go back into the classroom with an LVAD because I made a lot of noise. I couldn't go back after the transplant because, well, kids get sick. I have no immune system, so stay out of the school system. So I decided, you know, what am I going to do with my life? Spent all this time getting ready to teach and couldn't. So I pursued the Gift of Life. I went over and I pretty much called every day until they said, all right, stop calling, we'll give you a job. And I worked there for 2 years. My director had left there and went to NDRI working in research. And I thought, there's a lot to be done with transplant. I mean, it's kept me alive. It's kept you all alive. But when my time comes, I can't donate. I can't give anything back because of all the medications I take, my history. So my director left and he went to NDRI and he talked to me one day and he said, you should come over here. We have a need for you over here. And I thought, well, this is a place where I can deal with other people who want to donate. When I was at the Gift of Life, I was cold calling people, if you will. I worked strictly with tissue, so I would call people out of the blue right after one died and I'd say, I'm Mike, I work at the Gift of Life, and I have this opportunity for you to donate tissue. Some people understand. I imagine everybody here has had the conversation at least once. I want to donate. Your family knows your story, so when somebody calls out of the blue and says, hey, you know, so-and-so passed away and we want to take tissue, you're familiar with it. You know what it is. You know what donation is. We're calling people from the Gift of Life who have no idea. So we were cold calling these people. And I thought, I really like it, but I'd like to go and talk to people who you say are passionate about it. But I didn't deal with organ transplants at the Gift of Life. I dealt strictly with tissue. So I wanted to call these people and say, hey, I'm the guy that's going to make your wish come true. You want to donate, your husband wanted to donate, your wife wanted to donate. I'm calling you and I'm giving you the option. So I went to work for for NDRI, and that's what I did. I ran their private donor program there. And we allowed, we would reach out to different support organizations across the country, whether it's the organizations to deal with a rare disease, cancer, again, the HIV, AIDS, any particular disease that the researchers are studying, we were able to reach out to them, to their organizations, and say, hey, we are going to give you the opportunity to make a difference. You can contact us, we pre-register you, send you out information packets, and I brought packets for just about everybody. You can look them over. But we would send them out. These people would get so excited that they're actually able to give something back to their disorder or their disease. In the past, they've been told, no, you know, we understand you want to donate tissue when you pass away, but because you have this disease, you can't do it. And it's for transplant. I mean, we're not going to take tissue from a cancer patient and give it to a transplant patient. So we gave these people the opportunity to donate back to their cause. So we deal with, again, a number of the voluntary health organizations across the country. One of the, von Hippel-Lindau is one of them. It's a type of tumor that grows actually in the kidneys, the pancreas. And these people are so passionate about it. I mean, they've suffered through this disease, them, their family, and they've had nobody has said to them, look, we can let you help. They volunteer their time, they donate their time, but time is not going to solve it's not going to create better medications or better treatments for their disorder. And we work with researchers who can. Researchers who are working on with cutting edge technology in cancer. We have a rare disease organization, and we work with how many of the 38 voluntary health organizations across the country, and their membership registers with us, and we send them out information, we follow up with them. So they pre-consent with us. So when the time comes, the family has to do nothing. They make a phone call to NDRI, and we make arrangements for the organ tissue procurements. It's very rewarding. You get to talk to these people who have suffered with this condition for years. Most of them have got genetic diseases, disorders.
I'm trying to work at the same time. That's okay.
So these people, most of them, it's genetic disease, so their family has it. It's something they've been dealing with for years. Their children are going to have to deal with it. Their children's children are going to have to deal with it. So we, in an effort to create better treatments, medications, and potentially one day a cure for these disorders and diseases, we work with the researchers. And the one thing that's going to do it is tissue. You're going to do research on human diseases. A lot of these diseases, there's not animal models for, so you can't use a mouse or a rat for these diseases. So we need human tissue, and the place we're going to get it is in transplant centers. Our priority, of course, is transplant, solid organs for transplant. We don't want to interfere with life-saving transplants, but there's a lot left over in the body that is not going to be used for transplant, and we can use it to not necessarily save life, not immediately, but to enhance life. It's kind of, you can kind of get immediate gratification out of my work. I talk to these people, and they've dealt with it, they've handled this disease, they've struggled through it, and it's like telling them directly, yes, you can help. And of course, it happens at the worst period of time in anybody's life. You just lost a loved one. And someone is now calling saying, hey, you got your paperwork, we're going to come and recover tissue. And in the long run, I think they see that it's a great opportunity they get to give back something specifically to their disease. Now, if you have a cancer, we'll take your tissue and we'll give it to a researcher that's researching that type of cancer. It's not you take everything and just give it to whoever. The research is dedicated to your disease. So if you have any disorder that we deal with, and we have a team that goes out and finds researchers. So if we have someone that calls us and says, I have this rare disease and I want to register and donate, we have a team that goes out and contacts researchers that are researching this particular disease, so that we can procure tissue and place it with the researchers, so that, as I said, one day we can get better treatments with any luck and cure. It's a good opportunity for individuals who are told, no, you can't donate because you have this disorder, this disease, to donate. It's not life-saving, but it's definitely life-enhancing. That's my story. Are there questions or concerns? Jim?
Like what kind of tissues are you recovering?
We recover everything.
Even the body stripped of all tissue? No, probably not. You
Yes.
say everything.
Yes, we recover tissue. There are researchers researching everything. We recover spines. We have a researcher that takes feet, believe it or not, the whole foot. Now everything is done surgically, so it's not, you still have the opportunity for your viewing, or if you were, depending upon your funeral arrangements, it's done just as it would be if you donated a solid organ. It's done surgically, it's done sterile. There's no disfigurement, and if there is, you get a prosthetic, so you can still follow through with your funeral arrangements. But literally every tissue in the body can be used for research. There's somebody researching every single tissue in the body. We have brain researchers, as I said, the spine. We had researchers that wanted fingers. The study was working with mechanical hands, creating a new mechanical hand, and they wanted fingers. It's amazing some of the requests that come across, what some of the researchers are looking for. But literally every tissue is.
And who does the recovery of those tissues?
We have recovery techs across the country that will go out and recover the tissue. So you don't, if you pass away in Cleveland, we send somebody to Cleveland to do it. We don't move the body. We don't bring them out of state. We have people that go out and do it, recover the tissues locally.
Do you do research on, I guess, more common things like pancreatic cancer?
Yes. Yeah.
Even though they may be working on that right now?
We don't necessarily do the research. We provide the tissue to researchers that are working on this. We are just that, we're an interchange. So we work with, because the researchers, they're working on cancer, they don't need to be working on where to get the tissue from. So they contact us, and we work on getting the tissue.
Okay.
One less thing for them to worry about.
Right, so in other words, you're really not duplicating what's being done already?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And what's your business model in terms of profit or non-for-profit? Or
It's a not-for-profit organization. We've been in business for 30 years, based out of Philadelphia, 17th and JFK in Philadelphia. 30 years. And it's, so far it's worked. And we've been noted in numerous publications. One of the stipulations in the application is that if you publish and use tissue for your research from NDRI, we just ask for a copy of the publication. You know that you got the tissue from us. And hundreds of publications in the last 30 years.
Did I understand you to say that if you're a heart transplant recipient, you cannot give your organs and so forth?
When I worked at the Gift of Life, one of my first questions is, what can I donate since I'm being a recipient? What can I donate? And the answer at the time was just your corneas, because of all the medications you take. And I would give my corneas, but there's a lot more to give. I'm sure there's transplant researchers out there who would love to get hold of a heart, 10-year-old transplanted heart, and see what the medications have done to it, how they've affected different tissues in the body.
That's interesting.
Because I would think that as you get further and further along post-heart transplant receiving, the medications are less and less and less, which means your immune system is now getting back to normal. I would think that you'll be able to make a difference.
Mike, I would add, and having asked the exact same question, got the same answer and challenged it, because I said, but the people receiving it are going to be on medication too. They went back and they came back, the Gift of Life people came back with the opposite answer. Said, yes, you could donate your organs, all except your heart. I thought about that and I said, well, geez, if somebody's dying, I've road tested, it's a pretty good heart. They'd love to get it, But I understood from talking to doctors, the damage that's done on it, scarring tissue, etc., the length of the arteries and veins they need with it would preclude the heart, but they said the other organs could be donated. Now, that goes back about 15 years ago, and I did get the same answer, but I challenged it, so I'd be curious. I'll take that again, ask again, and see if we can get a...
It would be interesting to know.
Yeah.
As I said, when I worked there, that was my first question, what can I donate? And, it was disheartening to know that all they wanted was my eyes, but if that's what they want, they can have them. I'm not going to know where I'm going.
I'm curious, you're a non-profit organization?
Yes.
Are you staffed by volunteers, and your funding, is that done through, what do you call them?
Majority of our funding is grants for the NIH.
Okay.
And we do not have volunteer staff.
Okay. So you have a paid staff?
Yes.
X number of people that actually work on this staff?
Yes.
Is there a reason for that? Volunteers can't do that type of work?
There is no reason for it. I don't think anybody's come knocking on the door saying, hey, I want to volunteer. We're not as popular as an organization as the Gift of Life. And it's the people that we're dealing with, most of them or the majority of them are out of state. So if they're going to volunteer, they're probably going to volunteer through their local organ procurement organization or tissue bank. They know that the tissue is being used for research, but I don't know that, so we deal a lot with tissue bank up in Buffalo, and when they donate, they're donating through Buffalo. So the family knows that the tissue went for research, but they know that it went to research through this organ procurement organization in Buffalo.
Okay, so they would do a lot of the work then?
They call us, tell us what they have, they give us donor demographics, who the patient is, what condition, and we'll determine what tissues are needed from that particular donor, and they recover the tissues from there sent to our researchers.
So if I were to follow a timeline, and this person was an organ donor, but only certain organs, your team would be like the follow-up team, the same time frame being there, or does this take place hours later after organ transplant has taken place? Organ donation?
Typically, if it's an organ transplant, they would recover the organs, and then the tissue team would come in. The tissue team would recover tissues for the local tissue bank, life-enhancing tissues.
Right.
And anything that they could not recover or did not recover, they weren't going to use for themselves. We would take. So we're the last man on the totem pole. No man on the
Makes
totem
sense.
pole. So
But you're in the same time frame as my team?
Yes, oh yes.
Okay.
So
Do you ever use those teams to recover more than they can use for you?
yes, absolutely. The agreement we have with a number of the tissue banks and OPOs, they'll go in, they'll recover these solid organs, and while they're ready up the organs, they'll recover the tissue and then recover the tissue for us at the same time.
Is your organization the same as the science, giving your body to science, donating your body to science?
NDRI does not have the facilities to do a full body donation. So if you wanted to donate your body to science, we would work with one of the local, there's the Humanities Gift Registry that's local. We would work with them and recover tissues. If you have a disorder or disease, we would recover tissue specific to your disorder or disease for research, and then the body would go to the Humanities Gift Registry or another full body donation organization.
If one wants to get additional knowledge other than the paper information that you're going to provide to us, what is the name of your website and your telephone number?
We can be reached at, the phone number is 1-800-222-6374. The website is ndriresource.org. And all of our contact information is listed there. I have some information that I'll pass out to you folks, and you can look through it. It's the packet that we normally send out. Individuals call in and say, I've got this, that, or the other thing, and I want to donate tissue. Or I'm associated with this voluntary health organization, they gave me your information. So we would send out this packet, it's got some information regarding donation for research opposed to donation for transplant. And consent forms that you'd fill out, fill out. There's contact information in there for NDRI, so if you have questions or concerns while filling it out, we'd be happy to work with you.
What does NDRI stand for again, please?
The National Disease Research Interchange.
Are there any legal implications when it comes down to research and donations that you can share with us?
There's really not. Our NDRI's policy is we don't want to interfere with transplant. We want an individual to donate for transplant. We want them to donate to tissue banks for life-enhancing tissues. They'll take bone and make screws out of it. The local tissue bank will send it to a processor who'll make screws out of it for sports-related injuries, hip replacement. And that's the priority. We want those tissues to go for transplant and life-enhancing before it goes to research. We don't argue or ever fight over tissue. It's more valuable to the recipient than it is to research. We certainly we don't want to interfere with that. As far as legal ramifications, we don't put ourselves in a situation where we're going to, I say, compete with organs or tissue. But we don't, if there is a question, we don't proceed with the donor. If there's going to be an issue or we perceive an issue, we'll close the case. We won't follow through with it.
How do you get your message out? Through meetings like this?
Yes. We deal with, as I said, a lot of voluntary health organizations and their support groups for these different diseases. And we deal with them, and we send our information out through them. We'll deal with their membership. They'll have us in for a meeting, and we'll provide them the information there. And we just do just that. We provide you with the information. If you want to follow up with us, that's great. But we're not going to harass you. We're not going to call you a dozen times and say, hey, you didn't send your paperwork in. We want you to make the decision to donate for research. We don't want to harass anybody into it. It's got to be your decision. Any other questions, concerns?
In what way are you different from some of these other tissue or donation organizations? There's a myriad of these things all over. There's got to be something different about one group to the other. Otherwise, are we all doing these things and just duplicating our efforts?
There are a number of full body donations across the country. And these donations, you don't know where you're going, but when you donate through a full body donation, your body may be a cadaver for medical students. Your body may be, you can't specify where you want your tissues to go. So if you have a rare cancer, you can't say, I want my tissue to go to this rare cancer. You're going to donate your body to the tissue bank, or excuse me, to the full body donation organization, and they're going to determine where you go, what parts you get used. You're donating everything. And once they have you, you're theirs. We give you the opportunity to say, I've got this rare disease, and I want my tissues to go for this research. That's the primarily the difference. Now there's organizations across the country that will allow you to, like hospitals or universities, will allow you to donate your body, and they'll take, say, your brain. That's what they're researching, just the brain. So you'll donate your body, they'll take the brain, and the rest of the body, it sounds morbid, but will go to waste. We allow you to tell us what you want to donate and where you want it to go. Any other questions?
And where does Andy work in your organization?
Oh, yeah.
I work in the rare disease department as the private donor coordinator. So if someone calls in with a rare disease, I help them with whatever their donation wishes are. If they ask about what kind of research is going on, I can provide them with that information. A lot of times that is a deciding factor for them, because sometimes I have to tell them, right now we don't have anyone active, but we'll find someone. And once we find a researcher, I'll call them back and then
So you're marketing both to the research groups in the country as well as the patients who are donors.
Well, I defer to our researcher coordinator for finding the researchers.
Okay, so you're working with the donors?
Just the donors, yeah.
As opposed to Mike, how do you differ from what she does, or the same thing?
I do the same thing, but I do it globally. I don't just work with the rare disease department. We have an HIV department that does basically the same thing.
Okay.
And we actually get tissue from normal donors, people who just want to donate. They're not suitable for one reason or another for transplant, so they get in touch with us. And we deal with them, we work with them in order to get them set up for donation.
Just you have chapters, or is it it's a national?
We're based out of Philadelphia, but we have recovery personnel across the country. So someone passes away in California, they call us, and we arrange the recovery in California.
But only patients are calling you, organizations aren't calling you, as I
We do.
understand.
We get calls from, as I said, tissue banks. They'll call us, some organ procurement organizations. If say a solid organ is recovered for transplant, it's removed and it's determined that it's not suitable for transplant. All the transplant surgeons turn it down for one reason or another. So that organ doesn't go to waste, they'll contact our organization, and we'll see if we can place it for research.
How do you select people to even work for your organization, like Annie or yourself, or, do you go to medical schools, or?
You got a heart
how would you
transplant.
even-
Yeah, well, I had a heart transplant. I was a science teacher. That's what got me there.
The team decides to do it.
Majority of our folks have,
You basically created your own job.
yeah, for the most part.
Right. But then how would you find, you didn't have a transplant?
I did not, no.
But how
I'm willing to, though.
I have a science background, and my plans are medical next fall. So that's, a lot of people are, it's kind of like a, a stop on the,
It is.
on the middle of the road.
Okay.
So everyone we work with, but it's all really neat people, all science backgrounds, that kind of
Right.
thing, pretty much.
Okay. I guess that's what I was leading to, someplace in the field there like that.
For the most part.
Yeah, it is a stepping stone. A lot of people come in there, they get some experience, and the majority of the staff is planning on moving on at one time to medical school. So it's you go to college, you go to NDRI, and you go to medical school.
Okay.
I have one additional question for you. How is your organization structured?
We're run by a board of directors. Again, it's a nonprofit organization, board of directors, president, CEO, and a number of senior staff, and then they're broken down into different manager and coordinators from there.
So functionally structured, I was looking at. I know, for an example, you have certain functions divided up, is that pretty much?
Oh, I see. We have, so that each department is focused just on those particular tissues,
Right.
or those particular donors. We have a private donor program, and they deal with just, I say just, but they deal with normal, if you will, normal donors, people who have got no rare disease or disorder and want to donate. Again, they're ruled out for transplant because of maybe age, or maybe they had cancer 30 years ago and for some reason they're not eligible. Cancer is not a very good example, though. But then we have the rare disease program, which Annie works for, and they deal with people who are strictly people who are suffering from some type of rare disease. And there's like 6,000 rare diseases. An HIV program, and those folks deal strictly with HIV and AIDS patients. We deal with the Jocelyn Diabetes Center in Boston, and we have coordinators that deal just with those patients. So we have coordinators and managers that deal with, for the most part, just your disease. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it did.
And about how many employees are in the company?
There's 50 of us.
Okay.
About 50.
But you're mostly just a website and, an organization that appeals through various groups. So you have a message to get out. I'm going to be selfish, but I certainly think one of the ways of getting your message out is to publicize yourselves through ads in various journals and what
We
have
do.
you.
We absolutely do.
Thank you.
It's not, we don't put ads in the paper saying organs wanted, but
No.
yeah, we're in the science journals.
Okay.
We have advertisements in there. We talk to all the conferences the OPOs and tissue banks go
Right.
to. We go as well, and we let them know who we are, what it is we do, and how we can help them. recently there's been a change in the regulations for, I say regulations, but no, I'll call it regulations for tissue for donation or organs for donation. Now the OPOs are now rated on what tissues or how much tissue they offer, how much tissue they give to for research. And we work closely with the Gift of Life here. And
That's what I would.
you know, we help the Gift of Life meet this research. I don't call it a quota, but you know, it's we'll call it a quota. I mean, they're graded on, if you will, by how much tissue they donate or recover for research. So we help them and many other organizations or OPOs across the country with that.
Any other questions?
I can't think of
Well, Mike, we'd really like to thank you because this has been an education for all of us. Sometimes we hear about things and they hit on a bunch of words, but you have really brought it down to earth, dumbing it down, shall I say.
Well,
But one last question.
Yes.
Since this is a transition step, what's your next step, career-wise?
step?
In your dreams, your goal?
My next step. I'm kind of happy where I am right now. I'm going to stick it out for a while and then see where it goes. The organization it's a great organization and it's got incredible potential, especially with the changes that are coming from the OPOs and the tissue banks and regulations. So it's really got the potential to take off. And I think right now I'm in a good spot. So I'm gonna stick with it for a bit until they throw me out.
And the Philadelphia office is,
17th and JFK.
and you have how many employees there?
About 50.
At?
Yeah. We have a lab, and that's down at University of Penn. We only have 3 people in the lab. So we have 50 people in Philadelphia area. Okay. So I brought some goodies.